broadcasting from the Unshackled studios in Melbourne. This is WilmsFront, brought to you by the Unshackled.net. Now here's Tim Wilms.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's WilmsFront featured interview show. It is Thursday, the 27th of January, 2022, the day after Australia Day. I hope you all had the opportunity to celebrate the birth of the Australian Project, as I call it. Today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, and 2022 is also 80 years since the final solution documents were drawn up. So never forget, never again. We are live on the WilmsFront YouTube and DLive channels, as well as on the Entropy Enhanced software, which I've put the link into the live chats. It is 8:35 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where we are no longer the home of Australia's craziest COVID tyrant. That title now belongs to the Premier of Western Australia, Mark McGowan, who, despite bringing in the nation's most extensive vaccine mandates and vaccine passport system, already mandating the booster shot of the vaccines, he is still keeping the WA border shut indefinitely to keep Omicron out, even though Omicron is already in the state. My guest tonight is based in McLeod Land, as I call it, West Australia's most well-known patriot, Dennis Hutz, who recently achieved what many patriots who've been defamed by the mainstream media have dreamed of, getting a defamation settlement from the mainstream media. 3 years ago, Network 10 defamed Dennis, smearing him as a white supremacist when he unfurled an "It's Okay to Be White" banner at a Big Bash cricket game in Perth.
Good evening. My case with Channel 10, it's over, it's finished. In case you don't know what it is or what it was about, I sued Channel 10 for calling me a white supremacist. On Australia Day 2019, this is the publication.
There were heated scenes at the Invasion Day rally in the city today, with protesters demanding that we change the date. They confronted one of the men believed to be responsible for the "It's Okay to Be White" banner at the cricket earlier this week.
Police escorting white supremacist Dennis Hutz from the rally. As Indigenous protesters confront the so-called patriot for crashing their Invasion Day rally in the city.
Now it's over. They kept me in the courts for 2 years, and when it came time to go to trial, they choked, and they came to me with an offer to settle the court case out of court. They didn't want to go to trial, they panicked. I agreed to the terms of the settlement, and the case is now finished. For the last 2 years I've been limited in what I can say online because Channel 10 was stalking me, keeping everything I said in case we went to trial. They would try to use it against me. Well, I have more to say about that in the near future. Am I a white supremacist? There isn't a black and white answer to that.
Dennis, welcome to WilmsFront.
Hello, Tim. Thanks for having me on, man. How you going, all right?
Yeah, I'm going well, trying to get by in this extreme heat wave that we're having here in Melbourne, but I know that's nothing to the Perth heat wave or just normal summer heat.
Oh, we've just had a record heat wave here. 6 consecutive days over 40. And that's, they're saying, a record since records were taken. But we've had a reprieve now. It's only in the mid-30s at the moment, so it's not too bad.
It's funny how in, pre-COVID or post-COVID or COVID lull times, this would be the biggest story in Australia by The Guardian and the ABC, but the Omicron wave is apparently a bigger story than the heat wave. But I'm sure once that COVID subsides again, there'll be more climate catastrophe commentary.
I was going to say, keep those guys happy, won't it?
And now I haven't been able to have you on any of my shows for the past 3 years because you've been tied up in this defamation case. This is the first time I've had you on WilmsFront. I spoke with you, well, when you first unfurled that It's Okay to Be White banner at the Big Bash cricket in Perth. Is there still cricket going on in Perth at the moment? Where are the Perth scorchers at the moment?
All over east somewhere. None of the games have been played here. I think we had some earlier, but the finals tomorrow, Sydney Sixers and Scorchers are in it, and it's not being held here. It's Fortress WA over here, man. But yeah, that interview I did with you 3 years ago, 10 were even using that in their defense document against me for some of the things that I said to you on that. And we'll talk about that if you want when we get into it. But yeah, man, they were literally stalking everything I said online, every video. If I wasn't really making videos, but every post I made, everything that I did and said was being saved, and it would have been used or attempted to be used against me if we had have gone to trial, but the case didn't progress that far, so it all became irrelevant. But still, I just had to be careful what I was saying for the last few years, man, because just the most benign and reasonable things from I guess a mainstream conservative perspective I was being accused in the courts all through this of saying things which they said was white supremacy, but as I say, didn't go to trial.
I mean, it's a pretty extreme and outlandish claim to make against someone, but the mainstream media, they've done that over many years. Crescio says, will WilmsFront be taken to court for defamation now since I just played 10's original defamation of you?
No, you're not going to get taken. I sued them for the defamation for saying that about me. I think you're safe, bro. I think you're safe. But,
now, it's been 3 years since that report aired, and the legal proceedings have been going on for about 2 years. And I think it was Helen Dale, who's a Australian British lawyer, described defamation proceedings as blood sport. I mean, the high profile defamation cases of the past year, Christian Porter against Louise Milligan and the ABC, and it's still continuing, Ben Roberts-Smith against the Nine Network, 60 Minutes, Nick McKenzie's reports, and we've seen through what's come out over that year that you risk a lot by taking on a defamation proceedings. You just said that 10 were scouring everything that you were doing. Even the interview that I did with you on the Unshackled Waves. I know my interviews and videos have been in police briefs as well. So it's good. Well, it's good to see that other mainstream media and the authorities are watching. But you basically had to lie low, and because 10 were basically to justify their defamation, were trying to find more bad things that they could say about you, basically.
Yeah, they were. That interview we did, I don't know if you remember, but I said in that interview that the publication that they'd said about me had been republished to a third-party publication. And I said, if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm going to put that link in the comments section of your video, of the interview you did with me. 10 got that, and they used that in the defense of consent. So what they were saying was, because I'd spoken about it and led people to a link which showed it, that constituted me consenting to their original defense, to their original publication. So by me speaking about the publication, saying it's still online, someone else has published it, here's a link to it, that means that I consented. So I don't know if you know this, man. Like you were saying before, it's blood sport, right? It's blood sport. And I did it alone without a lawyer. Those are the high-profile cases you mentioned. Those people all had lawyers. If I had my time over, I probably wouldn't do it again. It was arduous and it was grueling, man. And I had to do it alone. But what happens in a defamation case is it's different than a criminal case. So like in a criminal case, they're both adversarial. That's the same. That's the thing that's the same. Two parties against each other. But, you know, in a criminal case, the person on trial, the accused, that is the defendant, right? They don't have to prove anything. The burden of proof lies with the state or the prosecution, and they have to prove that the person committed of a crime in a criminal case is guilty, right? And then the judge or the jury has just one thing to decide on, and that is whether guilty or not guilty. Completely different in defamation. So complicated. So the first thing is that the defendant in that case, in my case, is 10, not me. I'm the plaintiff. I'm essentially the prosecutor. I'm prosecuting 10 for what they said about me. They're the defendant, right? And the burden of proof gets flipped in a defamation case where it rests with the defendant. The defendant, who was Channel 10, has to prove that what they said about me is true. And the way that they do that is by running different defenses. And they had 7 of them. Some of them are what are called common law defenses. So things like fair comment, qualified privilege, honest opinion. Now those ones would never have held up, and they know it. I don't think they've ever held up in an Australian defamation case to date. But the big ones that they were relying on more, I can't hear you, mate. I think were you talking then? You hearing me, Tim? What's happened here, bro? Me? I can't hear you. I'll just see if I need to press anything on my computer here. Says everyone can see and hear me. Can you hear me? Well, that sucks, doesn't it? I don't know if you can, your audio has changed. Just give me a nod, Tim. Are you hearing me? Yes or no? Can you hear me? You can hear me? I can't hear you, man. Do you want me to just talk? Okay. I'm not going to be able to hear a question that you asked me, but if you can hear me, I'll just continue. Yeah, so the burden of proof is flipped, and yeah, I just got messages too from people watching. They can't hear you. What do you want to do here, bro? How's that?
Back now.
What have I done? You got me now?
Yeah, I don't know what happened because my audio mixer seemed to be working perfectly, but there was some sort of malfunction somewhere. But Yeah, this has never happened before on mine. I was hearing you. So you're up to talking about the three defences that wouldn't have stood up in court from Network 10. So keep going.
Yeah, but okay, because they never have, right? They never have. But the two that their main one was the defence of justification, which is basically we're justified in what we said about him because it's true, because he is a white supremacist. And I've got their defence document here if we want to have a look at it if you're interested. What happens in a defamation case is, so the first thing I did was file what's called a statement of claim, and I paid a lawyer to do that for me. And the statement of claim it's like the same with any civil action. It's just telling your story as to what was done to you and why you feel you should be compensated. The defendant then, which is Channel 10, files what's called their defense document, and that is their defenses and their attempt to justify what they said, and then they're saying, so we're not liable. And one of the ones that was absolutely ridiculous was the defense of consent. I don't know if you remember, on the day that it happened, I put a post on Facebook and I said, Channel 10 have just called me a white supremacist. Inquiries are being made. Watch this space. I said that on Facebook. They screenshotted that and said that because I said that, that means that I consented to their publication. You believe that? Because any mention of it, and like I said, talking about when I was interviewed.
What is it? So you consented to the defamation being repeated, or that or that you approved the defamation?
Yeah. So one of their defenses was the defense of consent, which basically means they're not liable because I consented to them saying it because I spoke about it publicly later. But the main defense, Tim, is the defense of justification. That was the big one. And I'll tell you a few things that they said as to why they felt that they were justified in calling me a white supremacist. Okay, so the first one was that the plaintiff has been involved and associated with right-wing nationalist groups such as the United Patriots Front and Reclaim Australia, including attending Reclaim Australia rallies and leading the Perth-based branch arm of the United Patriots Front. So merely by virtue of the fact that I was in those groups, that makes me a white supremacist, according to them. You know what I mean? The plaintiff holds, I mean, there's a bit there. The plaintiff holds views that place a high importance on so-called white Australian culture while diminishing the value of other cultures in Australia, namely those belonging to Indigenous Australians, as well as immigrants to Australia from non-European or non-Anglo-Celtic countries. The plaintiff considers that white Australian colonisation, the colonisation of Australia, was one of the best things that ever happened to Australia, and is opposed to further public recognition of the rights of Indigenous Australians. Never ever did I say anything like that, simply because I didn't want Australia Day to be changed. They said that I was opposed to the public recognition of the rights of Indigenous Australians. In Australia Day 2019, the plaintiff was removed from the Big Bash cricket sporting event for holding the banner saying it's okay to be white. And what they say about that is that I haven't got it all here, but the banner "It's okay to be white" is synonymous with white supremacists. It's a white supremacist slogan, and anyone who says it is a white supremacist. And there was also the link to Blair Cottrell, the public statements that they say he made, which he denies, of putting statues of Hitler in schools and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, man, they were just really clutching at straws. But their big thing was the use of an expert witness, which they want. Yeah, it didn't get that far because it didn't go to trial. But they did get a report from this guy, an academic from the social sciences, and I read the report, right, and it was like something you'd expect to get from a sociology student, with green hair and radicalized left-wing views, which was essentially what this person was. And they wanted to bring this person into the trial as an expert witness on what white supremacy is, and have them say things like, if you hold that banner, you're a white supremacist. Pauline Hanson is a white supremacist. All this sort of stuff. And the judge hinted that was never going to be accepted. I had a hearing coming up, right, to test the admissibility of this expert witness, because there are rules around the admission of an expert witness, rules of admissibility. They can't just bring in anyone to say anything. There's certain criteria, like the facts upon the opinions which he rests on have to be based on facts which are indisputable, and it can't be things like common knowledge. And what the definition of white supremacy is, common knowledge. Everybody knows what that means, you know what I mean? But they wanted to turn it around, just like lefties do, and say that anything conservative is white supremacy, right? And so they had this guy write a report, and then we were going to have a hearing to test his admissibility. I was going to argue that myself, and I would have won that for sure. And they knew that. They knew that they'd never get him in. And that's when they panicked, and that's when they came crawling with the settlement offer. And it didn't go any further.
You're sort of rocketing your chair off the screen.
You want me to start? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just so you sort of. Oh, well, you can sort of like rock, but make sure you don't fall off the screen.
I'm seeing my screen. It looks like I'm right in the middle of it. Is that
okay?
Better?
I'll ask the audience. They can always get feedback about what's going on.
I can't see anything that the audience is saying. Where's that at? You're going to be on YouTube for that, do you?
Yeah, it's on the YouTube live chat.
Okay, I'll probably see it on my phone. Yeah, go ahead, Tim. So yeah, man, it's been fun and games, and it's been quite.
So Network 10 was basically trying to redefine white supremacy to fit the new SJW definition, which basically, well, the "okay to be white" slogan, it's a anti-white racism statement. That's what basically is, because there's so much demonization of white people, especially white men, that it's okay to be white is basically a statement that being white, it doesn't mean you're guilty of all of these historical crimes. You'll have to turn the volume down. I can hear there.
It's off.
Yeah, but they'd have to basically, if they wanted to redefine it, basically, what is it? Australia was a white supremacist country from 1901 to 1967 with the White Australia policy by that definition.
That's right. And the report that he wrote, it was a 10-page report. They must have paid him freaking thousands to write it. It was basically, he almost said that the political and social history of Australia, I'm paraphrasing, was essentially white supremacist and racist from the day, that Australia was founded and settled. And even the judge was just like, this isn't. The judge gave comment before we had the hearing on his admissibility, right? And even the judge was saying, this is more like a sociology report. It's not an expert witness report. And the barristers for 10 knew that. They knew that. They were really clutching at straws. But yeah, so they try to redefine white supremacy to fit their narrative, and particularly their narrative of me. And they do that with a lot of terms. I was listening to something by Bill Maher the other day, Bill Maher, and he said one of the things that the left try to do is create new moral certainties by manipulating and misusing words and language and meaning, you know what I mean? Attributing or applying new meanings to old and established words which already have meanings. So if you consider the word violence, which is physical, it's an attack, it's assault, right? But now they say violence can be attributed to speech. So if you say something which is politically incorrect and you cause offense, the idea is that you have committed an act of violence against the offendee, where you haven't, because that's not what violence means. It's an attempt to establish a new moral certainty by manipulating words and meaning and language. And they do it with plenty of words like bravery and hero and victim and survivor. But the word or the term they seem to go at hardest in terms of, manipulating its meaning is white supremacy or white supremacist. And if you have conservative political views on society and culture, on immigration, on the preservation of our national institutions such as Australia Day, then that's white supremacy, according to them. And it's ridiculous and it's absurd because it's not white supremacy. And I think they knew the way the wind was blowing, and so that's what caused them to pull out. Yeah.
There's a super chat over on Entropy here from Senator Slayer for $3 He's asking about what the settlement was. He asked, is it true that Carrie Bickmore offered her body as payment to you instead of cash?
Is that Neil?
Yeah.
I can't see all these comments. Carrie Bickmore, yeah. If that had happened, I would have taken $5 instead, God. Nah, that's pretty funny, man.
Now for this Australia Day, you re-unfurled. Was it the original "It's Okay to Be White" banner that you unfurled?
Australia Day.
Yeah, this Australia Day.
Yeah, I did it again, but it wasn't any. It was pretty low key, man. There wasn't much media publicity. They didn't want to publish anything. They've been very quiet about me and that case. They all know about it. They all know about the case. 7, 9, 10. I've talked to journos about it, but they don't want to talk about it. If it had gone to trial, they would have been all over it, but they don't want to talk about it, the settlement. But I kept that banner since 2019, and I hung it on a bridge on Australia Day yesterday morning, just over the freeway in Perth here. So that was fun. That was a fun thing to do. Bit of Australia Day trolling against the establishment.
Well, it was a pretty subdued Australia Day on both sides, because obviously the biggest Invasion Day rally is here in Melbourne, but the warriors of the Aboriginal resistance, they cancelled the Invasion Day due to COVID. So that's all it takes for them to basically vacate the street. That there's this bad cold, mild flu bouncing around the city there. There was going to be a planned Make Australia Day Great Again rally organised by Michael Gray Griffith by Cafe Locked Out. But it didn't really come together. So in response, I think some various local Antifa Marxists were going to organise some counter. They said they didn't want the fascists to reclaim the city unchallenged. I suggested that Neil and Ricky T reclaim the Flinders Street steps where in Australia Days past they've been removed for carrying Australia flags. Daniel Andrews, he already cancelled the Australia Day parade. So Melbourne
didn't happen, or didn't.
Nothing much happened here in Melbourne.
Oh, we had Invasion here, but I think it was a pretty low key event. COVID's just taken over everything.
Though the fireworks went ahead, there was some sort of negotiation between Mark McGowan, the Premier, and your celebrity Mayor of Perth, Basil Zempers, about the...
Was it?
Yes, but the fireworks went ahead. The joke over East was that, oh, wow, they've got Australia Day fireworks in another country.
Yeah, so you had 100,000 people down on the Perth foreshore, and originally the government said that they'd be walking around checking vaccination certificates on people's phones on the app, and then they backpedaled on that and said that they're going to be checking masks. The big masks. Masks are the big thing, and vaccinations. And we got some of the toughest restrictions here. Now, we've had it so easy over here compared to you guys, man. We've only really had a week or two of lockdowns, I think, in the whole time. And he planned to open. The deal was that the borders were getting opened on the 5th of February. Did you know that? 5th of February
Yes.
over here. Yeah, but now the thing is that Omicron is the big boogeyman, and so they've reneged on it. They've reneged on the February 5 opening, and he's copping heaps now, man. He's copping heaps over here. Even normies and people who supported him, a lot of them have turned on him. He's got a few problems of his own. He's in court somewhere with Clive Palmer for defamation. Speaking of defamation, Clive sued Mark McGowan for defamation for calling him an enemy of the state. McGowan called Clive an enemy of the Western Australian state, and he's suing him for $50 million. But there's other things too, something to do with his business and all that shit. I don't know.
Because there was emergency legislation passed in 2020 that prevented Clive Palmer from pursuing a legal action in regards to a mining agreement that was actually undertaken by Colin Barnett when he was premier, that if Clive Palmer was successful would have bankrupted the state. And because the government is the government, they can pass a law to make themselves not liable and prevent Clive Palmer from suing. But this feud between Clive and McGowan over the past 2 years, it all started because when the hard border started, Mark McGowan granted Kerry Stokes, who owns the West Australian newspaper 7 News Perth, granted him an exemption to come back in WA, but not Clive.
Right. There's been a lot of that. Sports stars, millionaires, even from over in Europe, have been allowed to come in, but people haven't been allowed to come in to see their dying loved ones, in their last moments and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I haven't kept up with all the Clive Palmer stuff. I know that what I say about Clive is he's a buffoon, and obviously if he had won the 30 billion or whatever it was, that would be bad for WA. But there's merit in what he does as well, because he agitates and he disrupts, and anybody who does that against this perverted system that we're all forced to live under, in my opinion, there's merit in that. There's merit in that. And when the elites like McGowan and Quigley over here and everybody hates someone like him so much, then I look at him and think he must be doing something there's merit in. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like he's a buffoon. Like he's a bit of an idiot in some ways, but I like his style and I like what he does with his agitation.
Well, I remember that Kerry Stokes, Western Australian, they were putting on the front that there was more active Clive Palmer cases in the state than COVID, but the West Australian, they've now flipped and are going hard against McGowan over his backflip. I'm not sure how many memes that you've seen. This is a meme that's going around in 2050, and McLean is requesting the 100th booster rate at 80% before the borders open. Could he? I mean, he could be premier by that time.
That's scary, eh? I mean, there's what's the saying? There's truth in jest. Where does this booster shit stop? We're being mandated for 3 here now, and
what's your vaccination status? Are you juiced or pure blood?
I'm pure blood, man. I'm never fucking getting it. They can fucking put me under a bridge. They can come in here and strap me down and kill me, and I will never ever get it, because, man, this is so surreal. Every day I think I'm living in some sort of parallel universe than what it was before this thing started. It never ceases to amaze me the ease in which people have been prepared to sacrifice their most fundamental God-given rights. This has never happened before in my lifetime. I don't know where it's going after this. I don't know what it's really about. Like, I think that, I mean, there's something conspiratorial about it. in my opinion. There has to be. It can't just be this freaking vaccine, this disease came into the world and we're all getting vaccinated because the state cares about us. The state doesn't give two shits about us. I think that there's something conspiratorial about it. And whether it was, deliberately invented in some lab as part of some New World Order conspiracy, or whether it did come from a wet market in Wuhan, China, those things aren't really of a great concern to me. What I really care more about is what the government has done with it, like their response to it. Like there could be so many different responses, and it's almost like they've used it to inflict this sort of almost a communist agenda on the masses, and the masses have just sort of sat back and said, "Oh, okay, the state's talking. I'll listen and I'll do what I say." Even though everyone dying from this disease has had the vaccine, McGowan came out himself the other day and he said, after your second shot, you've got a 4% chance of not getting it. 4%, but apparently
Which
the booster.
That's not true. That's his the spin that he was putting on it, because he and his new health minister Amber Jade Sanderson, they're telling so many whoppers. I mean, I guess since Hungry Jack started in Western Australia, it's only fitting that a lot of whoppers are coming out from your politicians at the moment. But yeah, what is it? Her saying that we're in lockdown by default over East. I mean, even Dan Andrews mocked that. I mean, we know that. What's your preferred name, McGowan? Is that McLeod? There's also McGulag, Maugowan, Marks McGowan.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like some sort of a variation on McMahon, something like that. He's just a fucking little dictator, isn't he? He's just like.
But you've got internet over there. I mean, it's not North Korea yet. I mean, surely, are they still I know some people are beginning to turn and wake up to him, but are they still eating up the proper propaganda? I mean, can't they see the Australian Open and the crowd's going berserk over the Special K doubles? I mean, are they claiming that that's, I don't know, computer generated or something matrix that's not really happening over East?
Who, the state government?
Well, no. Well, clearly, if you can see the tennis is broadcast in Western Australia, my point is that you can clearly see that there's not a default lockdown here.
I'm really not sure, man. I don't even know what's meant by default lockdown. It's just every day it's something.
Yeah, that we're all staying in, that we're locking ourselves down, and that there's the hospitals overflowing, the corpses are piling up on up on the street, and we're all starving because there's no supermarket food on the shelf.
Is there anything in that? What's it like over there?
Well, there was a week where meat and toilet paper, Panadol was a bit there, but the shelves are pretty much normal again now. I mean, there's some gaps here and there, but yeah, you can get pretty much anything that you want. The streets are pretty busy. I mean, we know what a lockdown is like in Victoria. There was a freedom rally in Melbourne as part of the Worldwide Freedom Rally. Victoria Police didn't shoot them with rubber bullets, as what happens in an actual lockdown, and people aren't being choked for not wearing masks outside.
Right. Good to know.
Yeah. So it's not a lockdown here.
Yeah, we've got the toilet paper thing happening again here. And
you have?
Yeah, it's within anticipation. It was in anticipation of February 5, the opening.
The toilet paper.
Yeah, but even though that's been put on hold now, just we've literally got a handful of Omicron cases over here, something like 20 in the community, and people are freaking emptying the shelves of eggs, pasta, toilet paper. But man, do you know about our the proof of vax to get into places over here that starts on the 1st of February?
Yes, I've got the graphic here, and
There you
yeah,
go.
what I think stuck out for us over east was bottle shops, which basically, by including that, McGowan's just being a arsehole
It's
to
funny.
the unvaxxed.
It's punishment. It's not safety or health. It's punishment for going against what he wants you to do. What they've basically done is left the essentials open, in the same way that when there's a general lockdown on, you're allowed to go to the supermarket and all that sort of stuff. Doctors go for a walk at night. But they're bringing that in now for the unvaxxed across the board. Nothing to do with lockdowns. So when society's up and about, commencing on the 1st of February, if you're not double vaxxed and carrying around the proof of that with you, you can't go to, or basically anything except the essentials. You can't go into Crown Complex, you can't go into a pub, a restaurant, a bottle shop. You can go through the drive-through at Macca's, but you can't go into Macca's. Kids' amusement parks, bottle shops, entertainment venues, the movies, crowds where there's more than 500 people, Optus Stadium. We're just being ostracized from society, and I don't care. They can do that to me. I won't go into those places. We're allowed to go to the supermarket. We're allowed to go to department stores, and we can do the necessities. Mate, good luck to them. Good luck to them. But that's just, don't you think that is just draconian? And I don't know if anywhere else in the world that's got that.
No, not even. I mean, I think part of the reason why Dan Andrews mocked the default lockdown claim, talking about the ambassadors speaking to each other, is probably just pleased that he's no longer considered the craziest COVID tyrant in Australia. I mean, there's Michael Gunner in the Northern Territory. I mean, we're talking about the redefinition of white supremacists. Michael Gunner trying to redefine the definition of anti-vaxxer, that if you're against vaccine mandates, you're an anti-vaxxer, which, like, I'd be considered an anti-vaxxer, so would heaps of other vaccinated people.
It's a silencing tactic, which is designed to demonize people and to, demonize people who have legitimate grievances. And coming back to what we were saying before about the manipulation of words and meaning to establish new moral certainties, this is what they're doing with anti-vax. I've never been anti-vax. I'm for the, conventional vaccinations. My kids have all had those vaccinations, but I'd never give them these COVID vaccinations. Never. It's just, that's another thing about the conspiracy. AIDS has been around for 40 years and they don't have a freaking vaccine for it. But apparently they got one for this after a year. There's just something that doesn't quite sit right about that for me.
Well, COVID is it's a respiratory influenza virus. AIDS is a bit different in that regard. They've approved in Australia the Novavax protein vaccine, which they've reported in the media that this will bump up the vaccination rates another 1 or 2%. I don't know if you'd consider Novavax.
I don't know enough about it. I've tuned out of a lot of this stuff because, like I say, it's like every day there's just something else coming on my screen or in the radio, and because I listen to the radio while I'm working the day, and it's just it's conflictual. It's they're making it up as they go, and I just tune out and I just stop caring. I wouldn't even know what Novavax is, man. I wouldn't even know. And to be honest, I don't really care. I'm never getting nothing. They can jam it, mate. They can absolutely jam it. Never get nothing. But, yeah. But don't forget about the you were going to go there, weren't you? Extinction Rebellion.
Oh no, gonna stick with the hard border because what is it? It's indefinite now. The hard border, and so every other place in Australia is extreme risk. I don't know if he's got a super mega ultra extreme risk, but the hard border, like I don't know if you've been based in WA all your life. Like, are you like? Is there any family members you've been unable to see? Are you affected personally by the hard border?
No, I'm not, but I could be. I have family. I'm born and bred WA, but I lived 10 years in Sydney. Pretty much the entire 1990s, I lived in the Shire of Cronulla, ScoMo country. I got some family over there, but I probably wouldn't have been over there anyway. But it hasn't really affected me in that way. No.
The annual Australia Day lamb ad. This is a billboard in Perth which said, "Hey Mark, come visit Australia sometime. We'll fire up the Barbie."
Yeah, right. What?
There's
Because it's not the show.
Yeah. Now, so McGowan's new target is, what is it, 80% boosted, but by the time that happens, like, we've already got the Omicron subvariant. It's called BA2. Some people call it BS2. So everyone's saying, like, by the time 80% booster, what is it? Pfizer's got the fourth jab coming. Will there be another variant by then? I mean, this has been.
Are you saying that Omicron has mutated and there's another variant of Omicron? Is that what
it's called the son of Omicron? So it's like because with I'm not
how pathetic is this shit?
Because there was like, you remember Delta? There was Delta Plus, which was more infectious than Delta. So yeah, there's the BA2 Omicron now, which is dominant in Denmark. But this is how concerned they are about BA2 in Denmark, is that they've lifted all their restrictions in Denmark. So it certainly we should all be terrified by it if it's dominant in Denmark and they're lifting their restrictions.
It's almost like new variants benefit some people and some groups in some ways. Like, it's almost like there's something in it for Pfizer if new variants come along. Isn't that strange? Yeah.
Well, by the time they said March, their Omicron proof vaccine will be ready. But by that time, the Omicron wave will have already blown away. I mean, we're already on the way down here. And most of the people have had, like, everyone knows people who've had Omicron now, and the people that I know in my I mean, it entered my household, Omicron. I didn't get it. Well, that's what the test said. I probably did get it, but the test it didn't say. But yeah, like over East, I use that term over East because that's what McGowan uses. People are getting it and realizing, it's kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. I don't know. Again, over West, are people thinking that Omicron, it's like really super bad?
You're saying that we think it's super bad over here?
Well, sort of like, what's the takeover there? Like,
that's the propaganda that's being pushed here. That's the whole reason why he's reneged on reopening on February 5. The plan was February 5, let it rip. And I think all along he was never going to. And now he's using this. He's saying Omicron hasn't peaked over East yet. And he wants to let that happen so that it has?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to let that happen so then he can reassess and we'll look at it in due time. And then but he's relaxed, compassionate grounds for people coming back and people who are WA residents and have a connection to WA. I reckon that there'll still be some stringent bullshit.
Yeah, they have to quarantine for 14 days. Like, I mean, what is it? Over here now, is it 7 days isolation for positive cases now? It's half the time of isolation. So, Western Australia, I mean, it's sort of in the same forever halfway house that New Zealand is. I mean, Omicron has breached New Zealand despite their border being closed. So what's the end game? So yeah, Omicron's here, but we're going to remain shut to prevent more Omicron, even though it's here.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's less severe than the flu. No one under the age of 80 is dying from it. Or something.
Yeah, it's sort of like, what do you call it? Like mixed between a cold and a flu. It's like a clue. That's basically what it is.
Right.
Now, a lot of the political cynics are saying that Mark McGowan wants to keep the border closed to prevent Scott Morrison campaigning, and Alba was backed McGowan, and given the landslide in the WA state election in 2021, was it Labor won 53 out of 59. They're hoping federal Labor they can win 4 or 5 seats in WA to help get them federally.
Yeah, not too sure about that. WA, what happens in state elections doesn't really reflect, or doesn't always reflect what's going to happen in the federal vote. Western Australia's always been a safe coalition state federally because it's a pretty conservative state. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what his motivations are. He probably thinks he's doing something to save us all. He got ordered to go to. We talked about that, didn't we? He got ordered over East today to front Clive Palmer's
in person, no Zoom.
Yeah, he wanted Zoom, and the judge said no, so he had to get on a plane. He's so pissed off. He hates him so much. That's why I like Clive.
Yeah. Well, he can come over, but he'd have to quarantine for 14 days. But at least he'd get to see, if he wanted to, his family in Newcastle. Apparently there he is on the ground source about how bad it is over East.
So where would he have to quarantine?
He'd have to, when he comes back to WA, have to quarantine where he lives.
Is that what he's got to do when he gets back here?
Yeah, 14 days of self-quarantine.
Right.
Well, yeah, if he can't get out of appearing in person.
Okay.
But that way, if he refused to appear, that would be interesting. A federal arrest warrant for Mark McGowan.
Imagine that. In a civil case. I don't know.
So I don't know. You'd have, like I don't know. I don't know if there's federal police over in WA. Like I guess they bet. But it'd be funny, like if they had to come into WA to arrest, and you've got like this is all hypothetical. The WA police trying to prevent the federal police coming in to a state of Australia.
It would be interesting. Yeah. It's crazy times, bro. It's crazy.
Now we'll go on to your other, you'd say, time in the spotlight the past year, because you mentioned you've got the Invasion Day mob over there. You've also got the Extinction Rebellion mob there blocking traffic, and you gave them a piece of your mind, which I'll play the clip. Suddenly, the police leapt into action.
My case with Channel 10.
Good evening. A former leader of the United Patriots Front has turned the tables on Perth climate protesters, ripping down a banner before being wrestled to the ground by police. The confrontation happened in front of our cameras, and tonight the man is claiming officers were heavy-handed.
Stopped at a set of traffic lights, this man sees red over a non-violent protest, ripping into their message.
Get out of my way. Why don't you deal with this?
That man is Dennis Hutz.
I did the Benny Hill bit at the end of that was from a post I made, but yeah.
So they decided to throw some charges at you following that.
So police are lapdogs for the socialist left. here, over there, everywhere in Western nations. We all know that. That's no secret. We're the anarchists now. Left-wing socialists are not anarchists anymore. They're state bootlickers and state lapdogs because they have a shared political and social ideology with the state. And so the state supports Marxists and persecutes conservatives and nationalists. And that's what happened on this day. I mean, these guys are standing in front of the road blocking traffic. What right do they have to do that when the police and standing right there? The cops aid them and abet them in what they do and actually encourage them in what they do. They were giving them free passage to do that. That's why they were so close to me when I did that. And that's the state of affairs in Western nations. Now, because I pulled that banner out of their hands, apparently under the legislation that constituted assault. You don't have to physically harm somebody. You don't even if I hadn't have touched the banner. Apparently, just by walking up and being aggressive and causing a person to think you're going to assault them, that's assault. So I was charged with assault. I was charged with disorderly conduct in a public place, and I was charged with obstructing police. Obstructing police, even though 5 of them tackled me to the ground, they say I obstructed them. Now, I had bail there for a while, went to court, and on the morning of I was taking it to trial, I was going to plead. But the prosecutor, who was very sympathetic, he said that if I pled guilty to the common assault, they'd drop the other charges. And, I don't think I was going to get out of the assault because the judge, even though the judge was pretty sympathetic too, and the judge made statements that my aggression was mitigated or should be mitigated by the actions of those protesters. They came to court. 6 of them came to court, sat in court wanting to see justice served. You should have seen the state of them. And when I pled guilty, so they dismissed the other 2 charges. I pled guilty, and in the sentencing, I got to because all I got was a suspended fine. The prosecutor recommended that, and the judge agreed. And what that means is it was a $700 fine suspended for 6 months. So, which essentially means there's no punishment at all. You don't pay the money, provided you don't do anything again. You don't come before a court in the next 6 months, right? So there was no. It was the prosecutor said it was a storm in a teacup, which it was, right? But yeah, man, that's about the gist of it.
So, like, you were in your car at the time. Was it just, were you like on your way somewhere and they were just on the road?
Yeah, I did have something to do that day, and I did know they were out and about. They have this thing. I don't know if they do the same over there. It's every autumn in, I think it's March, and every spring in September. So roughly every 6 months, they have their 3 days of rebellion, where they promote it as 3 days of disruption in the CBD, where they lie down in traffic and all the rest of it. And so it was during one of those 3 days in March. It was March last year. And I was going somewhere, but I went by the city, and just by chance I had to go past these set of traffic lights where they were. And I was the first car at the lights too, by chance, and out they came.
I know that in some US states, because protesters blocking the highways, they do it for all sorts of causes. They're actually passing legislation now to provide, well, basically indemnity if a motorist hits some protesters who are deliberately blocking the road.
So the driver's not liable then?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And that should scare them, but it probably won't.
Oh well, they obviously the spin that the US mainstream media put on it is it's an anti-protest law.
Right. Yes.
Or what is it?
Yes,
You know,
of course it
allows
is.
what is it? You know, right? Oh, allows what is it? Right-wing attacks. You know, there's all
Everything's,
all
everything's
different.
all right with it.
The reason I asked you about like how you ended up at the lights because you're known in Perth for deliberately, extravagantly trolling these lefty protesters. What was that? I haven't got the footage with me, but there was some vegans protesting, and so you put some raw meat in your mouth in front of them.
Yeah, that was that's going back a while too. We had that was Tash Peterson. She's pretty famous over here. You must have heard about her.
Yeah, she's come over to Melbourne because she managed to get banned from every, not just fast food, but cafe restaurant in Perth. So she came over here and she made a scene at a KFC, and she hasn't gained much traction here. I mean, her first stunt at a KFC got some media attention, but we just all laughed at it. I mean, there were some TikTokers over here who ate KFC in front of
I saw that.
protesters. So they did have their big, I think, what is it, Day of the Soy in 2019, where they did the Extinction Rebellion thing, blocking the road. But that's been the highlight there. But Melbourne's seen as the far left protest capital of Australia, where they get a slap on the wrist. But based on what we've observed in Perth, what we've not just heard from you, but also that's come out of the media, that Perth has quite the far left scene, whether it be climate, vegan, Black Lives Matter. There's a huge Marxist street brigade there.
Nah, it's still nothing compared to Melbourne, I would say. Melbourne's just the epicenter. What you've got here is the same core group. They're way fewer in numbers than Melbourne, but they might be just more vocal. And whatever the cause is, whether it's refugee advocacy, gay rights, climate change, it's the same people. There's some Facebook pages being run now, like there's one called Health Before Profits.
Oh,
it is. It's Socialist Alliance, and they've got a couple of others, and they use these as these fronts for, they're just anarchist Marxists, But on the vegans, man, I just see that as just another branch of Marxism. Like the Marxist beast has many fronts, and whatever any way of causing social disruption to our normal way of life is utilized by any cause such as veganism. Do you know what I mean?
Well, after the COVID lockdowns were so successful, i.e. that so many in the West complied with them, otherwise the governments wouldn't do them, now they're dreaming of climate lockdowns, which is basically banning car usage and banning red meat consumption. So
I think that's part of the reset, isn't it?
It's probably the dream of some of the World Economic Forum, Great Reset people, the Davos, their virtual lair has been taking place this year. I covered that on Monday's program. Scott Morrison addressing Davos and saying, yes, we look forward to working with you on all these important issues.
Right. I see. Yeah, no end in sight.
But you are right that, Melbourne is still pretty horrendous. I mean, even though there was no official Invasion Day rally, there were still an act of vandalism with Captain Cook's statue defaced in red paint, mock blood. Even though Australia Day is not about Captain Cook, it's about Governor Arthur Phillip landing Sydney Cove, Botany Bay. So whoever did that, and I'm sure they've got CCTV footage, which if they really wanted to hunt down who did that.
Well, the thing about it is to have covered it that sort of conclusively, that sort of to that level, it would have taken time and effort. How did they get that high? And how did they do that without someone seeing them or without some attention being drawn to them? That's the thing I don't get. Yeah, but I don't know, man. What do you say about these people? It's the same every year. Same shit happens every year. Like, you just get fucking tired of it, man.
But the virtual attacks on Australia Day seem to intensify, even though they were not out on the street, particularly by the AFL clubs. The worst was my team, the Brisbane Lions. They put this on Facebook, Jan 26, not a day to celebrate, recognise, respect, educate.
Didn't see it. Did not see that. That is just shocking, isn't it?
I mean,
also there was a BBL match on last night between Strikers and Sydney Sixers, and Sydney Sixers won that to go into the final against Perth tomorrow. But that was held on Australia Day, and there was not. They all took a knee. They all took a knee at the start of it. Got down on their knees. You know, Dan Christensen, the leader of Sydney Sixers, is a full commie, but not one mention of Australia Day throughout that whole broadcast by any of the commentators. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you were looking away like I've lost you again. And Cricket Australia didn't promote Australia Day one bit in that, and it was the same last year. There was all that hoo-ha with it last year. You might remember last Australia Day. Same thing happened today. You know?
And we've got the Australian Open is happening, where they had a First Nations Day, and they also had an LGBT Pride Day, where Danny Laidley, that former coach turned transgender, was there.
I went to school with him, you know.
Is he based in? Was there?
He's West Australian.
Yeah. Was there any signs that?
It was when I was really young. It was only when I was really young. I only remember him by name. It was like grade 3 or something like that. And I went to another school. But yeah, man. Yeah, what a freak show that bloke is.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you heard about the clash of diversity with AFLW Muslim player Hazeem Zekra not playing because she doesn't want to wear the Pride jersey, though she says that she respects LGBT teammates, but won't wear it for religious reasons.
So is the establishment now going to come out and condemn her and cancel her like they did to Israel Folau? No, they won't, because she's got a perpetual victim card with no expiry date on it. We've all got to be politically correct and not say anything about it, because when you don't have power, then you're not a bigot or a homophobe. And you see the way it goes with this stuff. Like, I'm not hearing any condemnation about her from anyone on the ABC. No one. If this was a guy, a white male player, it would be all over everything. The news.
Except that you're leaving out that Israel Folau was not white. He is.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah,
I didn't say him.
No, you're right, but he's Christian, and that probably played into it. You know what I mean? Because what they hate is Christianity and white heterosexuality. And so he had Christianity covered. Plus, he's rich and powerful. You know what I mean? And people from his ethnic background aren't seen as having the same disempowerment as Muslims. You know what I mean? We've all got to tiptoe around Muslims. So even when they're we've had some shocking things happen over here lately, man. There was a Muslim refugee over here who'd been given rights to live in the community, and he cut his wife's throat for not being a good enough cook. Forced marriage. Afghan refugee. Just last year, we had a case of FGM where two women, Islamic women, were brought before the courts for it, and then you just don't hear about it. The media don't talk about it, you know.
It gets like reported in like the 6 p.m. news, like they run a piece and sort of that's it.
Yeah, they'll do a piece, but it doesn't get the whole, you know, vitriol and condemnation from all of the political commentators and stuff like that, you know.
I interrupted you before. What were you going to say?
Oh, did you? What were we talking about? I'm really not too sure.
We were talking about the sport, SJW sports,
sports ball. Not too sure. It might have been that I think Australia Day will eventually change. We're fighting a losing battle here, man. Like, they're getting louder every year, and the younger generations, there's more support in them for it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But the cynic in me tells me that it's not going to.
Well, at least with the Liberal and National parties, at least they're solid on this, like defending Australia Day. I mean, the polling is still like the latest poll. What is it? It was still 2/3 in favour of Australia Day. But yeah, the push to it's gone from change the date to abolish the day, though. Obviously, we've seen with Australia Day, another aspect of Australia Day, the Australian of the Year tends to be an SJW. I mean, we saw Grace Tame, the outgoing Australian of the Year, pull that face with Scott Morrison, but posing for a glowing photo with Elbow. I think. We know who she's going to vote for, and
she's purely political now. People,
yeah, and the Me Too 2.0 movement. I mean, that was big in between COVID waves earlier this year, with not just Grace Tame, but Brittany Higgins, that former Liberal staffer who alleges she was raped by a colleague. That's going to trial in the ACT this year, even though she was ex-Liberal staffer. She seemed to want to now campaign for Labor. This is another propaganda that the mainstream media points out, that Conservatives and Patriots, they're inherently misogynistic and mistreat women, while Labor and the Greens, they just care for women so much, even though, I mean, they keep referring to Christian Porter as an accused rapist, yet the Labor Party in 2019 put up an accused rapist for Prime Minister in Bill Shorten, but that's not talked about.
No, that's not. It's almost like Scott Morrison raped them himself. You know, it's like that's what you think. Look, women who are the victims of those sorts of crimes, the perpetrators of those crimes, deserve to be brought to justice. Most reasonable people would accept that, but it's what they do with they use their victimhood as a vehicle to they politicize their victimhood in a way that makes them partisan to one particular political line, and we all know what that line is. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, to stand there smiling and hugging Albo and growling and as though Albo is the savior of women or some shit, and Morrison is the misogynist, pro-rape supporter. It's just, the battle lines are just drawn. It's just fucking stupid.
As if I'd say any politician is pro-rape. What an absurd proposition. I mean,
that's right. That's right.
sexual assault is abhorrent in Western societies. There are strong laws against it. I mean, you just mentioned abhorrent, a domestic violence killing that came from an import. But and this is the other thing, that they tend to focus on and particularly these white feminists, that the white male fragility, that they're still the biggest problems because they hold all the power.
Yeah, they're silent on genuine rape culture, which exists in countries like Pakistan and India. These are genuine rape culture countries where fathers and sons and brothers and uncles roam looking for women to rape. It's a thing. It's an actual thing. And we bring those people here, and Western feminists are silent on it. While they, if a white man holds the door open for a woman, then there's some form of misogyny there, because he's disempowering her, and he's probably, subliminally a rapist or something. It's quite outrageous.
Well, going back to the Australian Open, initially the Tennis Australia banned T-shirts asking questions about where a sexual assault victim is. Peng Shuai, who's basically disappeared since she accused the former vice premier of China of sexually assaulting her. The CCP apologists in Australia are very quiet about that. A lot of them are in the Labor Party, the CCP apologists, such as Christina Keneally and Penny Wong, and then there's also former leaders Bob Carr and Paul Keating.
We have a parliamentarian over here who's a former member of the Communist Party. I don't know who she is by name. Liam Bartlett from 60 Minutes. He does morning talkback radio on 6PR over here. And he had her on the other morning, and he was grilling her, how she was an agent for the CCP. I don't know how she got through the dragnet to become a Western Australian parliamentarian, but that's scary.
Oh, one of the Labor candidate for the upcoming New South Wales seat of Strathfield by-election is on record previously praising the CCP.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we are infested with subversives, man, and this is what democracy does. This is people seeing the virtues of democracy, but it allows subversives to flourish, and
Mark McGowan, he's just as even more pro China than Dan Andrews. I mean, it's the exports to China that are propping up the WA economy. Wasn't he going on some sort of reconnection tour with China and a few other Asian countries?
Not sure, man. I don't know, but this is one of the things that Clive is banging on about, and he wants to question McGowan on the stand about his connection to Communist China and CCP agents in the ranks over here. So there is something happening in that regard over here, man, and it's something to watch.
The next WA state election is not until, March 2025. So you're stuck with McGowan having, because he's got a majority in both houses. You actually have the WA Nationals as the official opposition, Mia Davies. I'm not sure what your opinion is of her, or their state Liberal leader, David Honey.
Don't know much about it, man. I really don't. All I know is that they had such a majority at that election that the WA Liberals couldn't even form opposition. They won 2 seats, and so they couldn't even form the official opposition party, and that went to the Greens, not the Greens, the Nationals.
Although over in they're pretty SJW, the WA Nationals, so they're kind of like the Greens.
Oh, is that right? See, I wouldn't know, man. I'm out of the loop with a lot of this stuff. It's like you seem pretty across all this, though. You must do a lot of.
Oh well, you know, as part of my job running the Unshackled, to be abreast of all of this. Now, you've attended a lot of the WA freedom rallies. Are they like growing on the ground? We know that Mark McGowan has upped his rhetoric against the freedom rally people.
I don't know. I think it's on the decline. I think there's lethargy setting in now. I hope I'm wrong, but I get the sense that people have just accepted their fate. I don't know, man. I found them to be too boomer friendly. The freedom rallies over here. Like I know some of the organisers, and I wanted to speak, and they wouldn't let me because of my association with sort of right-wing activism. They were scared. They were scared the media would attack us attack them for allowing, a Nazi to speak and all that sort of stuff. Because the left over here are very big on, probably the same over there, on painting the freedom movement as being one of Nazis and even McGowan. They all say it.
Yeah, they've tried to do that over here, though. Over here, there is because it's the freedom movement it's made up of very, when I say it diverse, I mean literally diverse of different races, demographics, political allegiances, and they're all working together, but it sounds like it's a bit more fractured in WA. I know that, McGowan claimed because he's still trying to get the Aboriginal vaccination rates up, and so he did that, video with that elder who translated to Aboriginal English, which everyone mocked. And his allegation was that US-based white supremacists have been trying to brainwash West Australian Aborigines to not get the jab because they want them to die of COVID. But if white supremacists are supposedly anti-vax, then wouldn't they be wanting to get the WA Aborigines? Wouldn't they want to encourage them to get the vax?
I don't know, man. It's I don't have the answers, Tim. I really don't know. All I know is that the establishment and Marxists use Nazis and right-wing extremists as their answer to everything. It's not. It couldn't possibly be a working class revolt against state tyranny. I mean, it just couldn't possibly be that. Nah, it's neo-Nazis in disguise running around terrorizing our cities. Do you know what I mean? That's how pathetic they are, man. That's just how pathetic these people are. And it's political leaders, it's those in the media, all the way down to the ground level left-wing activists, all chanting the same mantra.
So if WA ever opens up, or if COVID is widespread, McGowan will probably do what Gunner has done to the Aborigines in the Northern Territory. He put, whether they were positive or close contacts, removed Aborigines from remote communities and put them in the Howard Springs COVID camp, and he's still continuing to lock down remote Aboriginal communities because their vax rates aren't high enough, basically saying that I'll continue to lock you down until enough of you get the jab. And I know that McGowan is constructing his own COVID camp at Bullsbrook.
Right. Bullsbrook's a suburb on the outer north of Perth.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it seems when it suits them, they can move Aboriginals off the land and put them where they want and all the rest of it. But
so it has made for an interesting fracture in the Aboriginal sovereignty rights movement, and this sort of it's reached fever pitch at when the fire happened at Old Parliament House, because that occurred when it was what you'd say anti-vax mandate Aboriginal rights group.
Was there any truth to that being anti-vax, or was it purely Aboriginal activism?
Well, the Tent Embassy, they apparently claim ownership over all Aboriginal rights activism in Canberra. Said they're nothing to do with us. But one of the Millions March against mandatory vaccinations, they organise nationwide rallies. They're very Aboriginal sovereignty rights focused. I mean, that was certainly the vibe that I got when I attended the Melbourne one. I know that the People's Revolution in Queensland, led by Tricky Tritty, they have a Aboriginal ceremony at the beginning of theirs, which, like, I think that this is like obviously these people, they support the concept of Invasion Day, but like I like that they're fracturing the Invasion Day lobbies, since it's been dominated by Marxists who basically want to destroy Australia and turn it communist.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to really say what it is. I really don't know. I really don't know, Tim.
So I'll finish off now that you're basically, you don't have to watch your back for Network 10 anymore. What are your plans for 2022?
Well, I haven't said anything about this yet, but there's another one in the pipeline. Louise Milligan. You know Louise Milligan?
Oh, yes, she's already been, I think, had to settle with Andrew Laming, federal MP, for accusing him of upskirting.
Well, she called me a white supremacist as well, and it's still on her Facebook page right now if anyone wants to go there and have a look. Only a few posts down. She doesn't post very often on Facebook. She uses Twitter a lot more. She only makes like a post a month, not even. And there's a post where she's called me a white supremacist, and I did send her a concerns notice. But I'm just giving that some thought, man, because I don't know if I want to go through that again, to be honest. Apart from that, I don't know, man, just living the good life, just laying low, just leisure, family, stuff like that. I don't have there's no big plans for activism or anything. Everything's sort of died down now. There's no real...
especially since you're trapped there in WA, where you can... It's like a reverse Hotel California. You can, check out anytime you like, but can't really come in.
That's right. Yeah.
But like I said, like you're, the only patriot that I know of who's taken on the mainstream media, like people such as Blair Cottrell have been defamed constantly. I think news.com.au, they use numerous times this own Photoshop photo of him in front of an Australian flag and swastika, which he never appeared in front of. They just photoshopped that.
Right.
Which
and the downside to settlement was that it didn't get a lot of publicity, and I wasn't able to expose them for what they did. If it had gone to trial, that would have happened. But when it's settlement and it's not a high-profile person, which I'm not, nobody really knows about it. Do you know what I mean? It just gets they pay you out and then it's all over. That's one of the regrets I have of not being able to expose them, because that would have hurt them. It's more the judgment. It's more the judgment against them is more damaging to them than the financial compensation that would have been ordered. The judge would have ordered them to pay me if I had taken them to trial and won. The judgment is the big thing for them, not money. They don't give a shit about money.
Oh yeah, but they're owned by what is it, Viacom, CBS now. They're, global media conglomerate.
Although they are, Network 10 have taken massive hits in the ratings, and I think they're facing the prospect of going into maybe not liquidation, but some form of administration. So that would be also interesting to see, because they're woke and nobody likes them. Nobody wants to watch their crap. You know what I mean? And that's
Well, they axed their news website last year. 10 Daily.
10 Play.
And but they still won't axe the project, even though hardly anyone's.
No, that's right. And have you seen all the new ads they've brought out for the project with them, Waleed and Peter and that, talking about, every day I come to work and it's a great thing and we're doing new things, and just spin and propaganda, because nobody's watching them anymore.
Yeah,
because normal people don't care about woke shit.
Huh.
That is the disconnect between people out there in the heartland who get up every day, go to work, watch their kids play sport on the weekend, and go down to Bunnings on a Sunday, have absolutely no connection with this small minority of cultural elites who occupy the seats of power in media and politics and academia. 90% of the population probably have just no connection to that. And that's what people like them are suffering,
Well, Lisa Wilkinson, her book, fiction book about why she left Channel 9 to go over to the project. It's been discounted from $45 to $5. So some cheap toilet paper.
Really?
If you're that desperate.
Oh god! Wonder what the Red Pirate's saying about that. The Red Pirate, Harvey.
Oh yeah. They're what is that? Australia's worst media power couple. I mean, what is it? He's trying to. He's got a new model for the Republic now, and of course, Lisa. She's still advocating for more restrictions, even though she and Pirate Pete will be fine in their Mossman mansion on the North Shore.
Hey, did you see Andrew O'Keefe back in the news today?
Yes, former White Ribbon ambassador, another horrific alleged assault on a woman. So he's alleged grabbing a woman's throat before kicking and punching her in Sydney's CBD. Mark Latham recycled his comment that Andrew O'Keefe told me he was a domestic violence expert. Yeah,
Latham's all over this. He's loving it. It goes back to that. You see that interview in the morning show with Latham and Van Batten were on. Did you ever see that?
It rings a bell. I'd probably have to.
Oh man, that is the stuff of folklore now. I look that up every now and again when I want to get a lift. If anyone wants to see something so awesome, just go onto Google and type in Andrew O'Keefe, Mark Latham, and Van Batten. They were on the morning show. The morning show hosted by Andrew O'Keefe a few years ago.
Yeah, I think
it's only like a 5-minute vid, but that is awesome, man. What happened? And Miranda Devine, she was on it too.
Yeah. Van Batten, the local Melbourne communist, she also loved the lockdowns here. What is it? She published her own book on QAnon, which I don't know anyone who believes in QAnon, but apparently Van Batten and Louise Milligan, they've found so many people who believed it, and it's torn families apart. And of course, Scott Morrison's wife's friend's husband believes in QAnon, so that was
that's right. His wife's friend's husband's cousin. That's right. So,
But the Andrew O'Keefe, going back to the white ribbon that he was an ambassador for, that's gone under now, presumably because they gave out these white ribbon ambassadorships like candy.
Right, and probably his endorsement of it didn't help, right?
Well, if White Ribbon hadn't gone under a few years back, it would definitely go under now.
Oh yeah, that's it. There's no chance of redemption for him now. There may have been after the first thing, but now this is just going to compound it, and he'll be cancelled. You know what I mean?
Oh well, rightfully should be cancelled.
Yeah,
I mean, horrible.
yeah, that's right. That's
doing.
right. It's interesting, isn't it? So many on the right of politics get cancelled for doing nothing, and here's this guy. He'll get cancelled, but it will be reluctant cancelling probably from the left. They won't really want to see him go because he's one of them. He just had a bad. Isn't he the son of a lawyer or something, or a famous judge or barrister or something?
I don't know. Yeah, he's just known as the game show guy.
No, he is. I think he's the son of a high court judge or a famous QC or something like that. But yeah, man. Cool, Tim.
Well, take care, Dennis. And well,
all right, bro.
Borders allow, we might meet again.
Yeah, man.
And, one day, but I'm not. If I'm not going to WA until not only like my demand would be not only do they open the border, but get rid of the G2G pass and negative tests. I mean, they've gotten rid of all that over east. Pretty much the east is there's no.
Have you been to WA?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I should have gone while I had the chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, the east, there's no travel permits anymore, negative tests or anything like that. Eastern Australia is pretty much, one nation now.
Right. And this is all because we're scared of what you guys had is coming here. That's what it's all about.
Yes. And yeah. And according to McGowan, yes, we're living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I had to venture out on the weekend with a gas mask on to find scrap of food, crawling over dead bodies. That seems to be what they think's happening over east.
That's funny. That's funny. Cool, man.
Well, thanks for your time, and
thanks for the chat. We'll do it again sometime, probably.
Well, thank you everyone in the live chat, and thank you Senator Slayer for the super chat, and you also helped reconnect us because you're sort of on and off social media a bit. I think you've been have you been rebanned from Facebook again?
I've got a page up now, but I don't have a personal profile, so I'm adminning it from a family member's profile. What's a super chat?
So entropy is this because my YouTube channel is demonetized. So entropy is a way to get around the YouTube. So it's a paid comment. So I get $3 Australian dollars. Well, entropy takes a cut from it.
I see. All right, man. Awesome. Cool, Tim. What do I do? How do I get out of this? Just close the window, or?
Yeah, I can kick you out. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
All right. Take care.
Talk to you soon. See you, mate.
See ya. All right, everybody. That's the WilmsFront featured interview show for this week. Damien Ferry released a video on the Unshackled YouTube channel last night announcing the winners of the 2021 Unshackled Awards category. So the Australian Regressive winner again was Dan Andrews, Victorian Premier. The winner of the Australian Unshackler was Rod Cullerton, leader of the Great Australian Party and former WA Senator. Winner of the International Unshackler Award was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has kept Florida 100% normal. The winner of the International Cuck of the Year was Prince Harry. The winner of the Cis White Male of the Year was Kyle Rittenhouse. The winner of the Triggered Feminist of the Year award was Lydia Thorpe. The winner of the Australian Culture Warrior of the Year award was Mark Latham. The winner of the Degenerate of the Year award was Dr. Anthony Fauci. The winner of the International Media Personality of the Year was Tucker Carlson. And the winner of the Fake News Outlet of the Year was the ABC. Kyle should run for president. Well, he's just turned 18, so you have to be 35 years old to run for US president. So in 17 years' time, he's got no criminal record, so he can run for president. Yes, Mel, Kyle is a hero for a lot of us. Crescio asks who wins the chicken dinner. I don't know. I had steak for dinner. That's what I had. Because yeah, like there's lots of meat for sale here in Victoria, so I could have my choice of steak, beef steak, lamb chops, or chicken breast, or pork ribs. See, spoiled for choice here. So I'll see you all for Trad Tasman Talk tomorrow evening, where Dewey DeBoer will be my co-host. He wasn't going to do this week, but Jacinta flicking New Zealand back to the red traffic light we'll see him be able to come on and describe life back in the red in New Zealand, and also tell us about his continued pure blood unvaxxed existence. I look forward to catching up with him then, 6 p.m. Melbourne time on the Unshackled YouTube channel. So thank you everyone for watching. Stay sane, stay safe, stay cool. There's a storm brewing now here in Melbourne, so I'm going to get some tropical weather. So I'll brace myself for that. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to WilmsFront. Visit timwilms.com or Rational Rise TV to view the archive of episodes. And keep visiting the Unshackled.net to view all our shows and to keep up with the latest real news and analysis.